role of a goalkeeper is very different now. The goalkeepers even look different now, and it's largely down to the fact that a manager wants a goalkeeper who can use their feet, who can be the first line of attack. Also, when it comes to shot stopping, there's a realisation that certain techniques are so much more powerful when it comes to saving shots. I'm delighted to say that we're joined by Hauserman of 2e9c4f2b, who's going to show us some of these new techniques. But back in the day, it used to be a case of we would kick into an area. So what we need to do is set up as if, obviously, blue's defending that goal, orange is you're attacking. We're going to show a good example of what a goal kick used to look like, where more often than not, the goalkeeper would go long, go out wide, players would be quite clustered, and it'd very much be a 50-50 as to whether the team keeps possession or not. That's a good strike of the ball. As you can see, it's very much a 50-50 challenge. In the end, they managed to keep possession, but it's more luck than judgment. So this is a good example of the modern-day goalkeeper. What you see more often than not now is that they can play right-footed, left-footed, so they'll set up with something like this, where they can play short. Obviously, now they're able to play inside the box, so they might just play to one of their centre-backs. But they've also got the ability maybe to go to the winger, the full-back, or maybe even drive one into the striker's chest. Good ball, Harry. Good ball. There you go. And we're off. And that's a great example where you can instantly turn defence into attack, and you're in there attacking third, attacking their goal. I'm going to show you 3 different ways in which the ball can be kicked out of your hands and how it's progressed through the ages. So the first one, and this was pretty much the technique that every goalkeeper did back in the day, was the old school punt, which Harry will show us now. Good kick, Harry. Now you see it comes down very, very high. Very rarely do you keep possession of the football when kicking like this. Kicking then did progress. Van der Sar was a great example of the half volley, and this was used for ages. Now, it's not the perfect technique for many reasons, and it has evolved since then, but this is an example of a good half volley. Good strike, Harry. As we've seen this technique, it is a little bit flatter. Of course, you are having to drop it on the ground, which, depending on where you play, that can be a bit of an issue that you're not always going to get a true bounce. And now in the Premier League, we don't see the old school punt. We don't see a half volley at all. This is the only technique that we'll now see. It is the side volley. And you see with this, you can get a really flat trajectory, sometimes striking it into the striker's chest. And as we see here, more often than not, you will keep possession of the football. A technique that modern-day goalkeepers really focused on is in regards to one-on-ones. Now, the technique I'm about to show you is what they used to do. Very narrow in their stance, come out, hand by their sides. The problem is they don't cover too much of the goal. A technique we'll now see from the modern-day goalkeeper is called the long barrier. The likes of David De Gea love this technique because you do cover much more of the goal. You're still approaching the same way. It's vital you get the timing right, and if you spread, you see you get a much wider surface to make the save. Goalkeeping has changed beyond recognition over the last 20 years. A lot of managers now, they want a midfielder with gloves on, and Harry today has given us a great example of the modern goalkeeper. Great save, Harry. Great save.